Hey traders, Nick Shaheen here looking at Boeing. Today is 3/11 and the morning of, well, the day of the disaster. Unfortunately, this weekend we had another plane crash, and it's a 737, one version of it, and apparently that's, I think, the second time this happens. Some airlines, even I think China as a whole, grounded that particular plane just in case. Needless to say, the overnight action in the stock, we're looking at the 5-minute chart here. Every candle is 5 minutes, and you can see how it fell. I think it was 12%, 10, 11, 12% from top to bottom, 14%-ish. So a significant dip. Now, aside from the fact that it's a sad event, every time I've seen Boeing come down like this on a headline, regardless of what it is. I remember at one time there was some issue with some batteries catching fire, and literally the flights were still in the air when it rebounded. So it's a temporary dip. And I'll tell you why this is one of those stocks that dips should be bought. But it all depends on your time frame. Not everybody can buy every dip, because it may mean a little bit less than for one person than the other. It depends on their time frame. And it's an expensive stock from the price tag perspective, not from the valuation perspective. So in this case, why is it a perfect stock to buy on a dip? Because it has a natural put in it. What does that mean? It's like a safety net. What is it? It's the fact that it has so much visibility going forward. First of all, it has only one competitor, in its Airbus. So between both of them, there's plenty of business to go around, and there's nobody else in third that can even come close to doing what they do. So the barrier to entry is huge. So from a business perspective, you need a company that has a technological advantage, and this one does, makes great planes. In fact, the Airbus just pulled their massive plane that they spent so much effort trying to get on in the air, and there aren't enough airports to support it. So the one that looks like a whale. So here it is, Boeing in a controlling position globally, and more importantly, it has some sort of a backlog of sales, deliveries that spans a decade. So even if they stop taking orders right now, they should have enough business to go at least a decade or thereabouts. So the P&L is, you have visibility to the P&L going forward. So fundamentally, if I buy it here and it dips, there's a bottom, because it only sells at a, I'm going to say 25 trailing price to earnings ratio. So actual price to earnings ratio. Okay. Having said that, the company has value, proven management. They've had so many tests over decades. Even now, year to date, it's still up 15%. I'm going to go from memory. 2 years and 5 years. 2 years is up 120%. 5 years is up 220%. These little blips here, where I've sold risk before on dips. So look at where they are. So I'm going to take them out because they're meaningless right now. So this is where it was, all-time high just recently, in the face of all the scary parts that we've had recently. So this is a weekly chart. So somewhere in the middle lies the truth, but let's go down to a daily chart. So what happened today? Today the stock fell apart at the open. You know, Boeing this, Boeing that, all day long, blah, 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 Boeing, blah, 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 Boeing. It fell to 365-ish. And then rebounded. So let's say it was down 11%, and then closed less than half of that. So it was down 5.3%. That's why the candle is so green and all the way up here. Still left an open gap. But look at where it came from. Recently, I charted two possibilities, and they were both upside because the stock had tightened up in potential. So the range went from here to here down to a pinpoint. So something will break out or break down at that point in time. Given that it has so much support there below, I guessed it would go and be up. And not this much up, but boy, did it blow up. I drew the white lines ahead of time, and it came to fruition and then some. So now what did they do? All right, let's mark it up, and let's use some crayons to make it an easy look. So we established the fact that fundamentally it's an easy call to say, okay, it has value, and if I buy it now or go long it now, the risk below is finite versus the infinite risk. It seems like if you hold it for over a period of time, you're going to make money. It just depends on how long you want to hold it. Therefore, it says, okay, is this a big enough opportunity for me? I know people that went long it overnight or in the morning and just got out in an hour and made 10, 15, 20%, 30%, depends on what they did. And if they used options. Okay, so this is the same chart, daily chart. Every candle is 1 day. We had a breakout from here, so I'm going to put a neckline. It doesn't have to be accurate. They fought over it. They came to a point, and boom, they took off. And then something happened here, which was earnings. Earnings came out. They blew it out of the water, so they gapped up, leaving a hole, which is a magnet usually. That hole is plugged up completely with today's candle. So they did whatever they did, rallied, yay, going to all-time highs, over $400, and then this collapse. Look where it came back. Almost exactly to this level. Not almost, exactly to this level, which is closes the gap. Let's say they overshoot. This is a gigantic candle. High volume. Look at the volume. It goes up to here. So I'm looking back, nowhere even close that has this much volume. So this was one serious test. And the fact that they closed off the high tells me that there's even a chance that it could be a one-day event. Usually I say there's no way it's going to be a one-day event. But in this case, it could be a one-day event. That's a high-volume ditch. And probably helped Apple be up so much because money runs out of something, hides into something else. They don't have to call their bosses, hey, boss, what do I do with the cash? I just sold Boeing. They can take it out of Boeing and park it in Apple. I'm just saying. Apple's up 4% today, or 3.5% last time I checked. So Boeing falls back to plug the gap. So the gap is closed. And just above the pivot zone. So if I look back, this whole zone was some sort of a resistance. You know, they poked through it here, but something happened. When is that? October. Oh boy. Okay. Christmas debacle. And then January came about and we went off to the races. But if I look, this whole zone is pivotal. I know there are a lot of lines. I don't need to be surgical. I'm just giving you the concept. So there was resistance, and then they blew through it. So now they're falling into it. Okay, so whoever fought over it, and it was a big fight, they're going to fight over it again. They say, you know what? We put up a good fight last time we were here. Let's fight it out again. They're going to fight over it. What does that do? It creates congestion. So a falling stock, if it's falling, that congestion will supply support. If it's rising, that congestion will be a resistance. In this case, it's going to be support, hopefully. Now, the tricky part is that there are headlines still coming. The FAA just announced, actually just after the close, that they didn't see anything special to where they say you have to ground your planes, but they came to an agreement to where it's probably going to be some sort of a software glitch that they're going to plug up by April. I can't remember the date. Let's call it mid-April. So in the next 30 days or so, Boeing committed to doing some sort of a fix while they are still looking into black boxes. So the investigation is ongoing. So if something comes out and the black box says, you know what, there's a physical problem, systemic problem on the plane, you have to retrofit all of them as the expense is X million or X billion, then we might have a different conversation. With the information we have today, this should be it. The tizzy is almost over, if not over completely. So, okay, step number one, if I'm long a stock, I don't get out of it here. If I'm still worried, I buy a few puts to protect me for the next couple of weeks. If I'm looking to long the stock, it would have been a great entry point this morning. It's still an okay entry point in here, but look, I mean, this was all-time high just a few weeks ago. So if nervous about it, just stay out of it. It all depends on what you want to do with it. If I trade options, I would sell puts in it. It would have been great to sell puts in the morning, and I bet you would have made 300%. I mean, you would have made easy money by the end of the day, because as the selling pressure gets off of the puts that you sold, then the premium in those puts would just get like an earnings report. They just disappear. So whoever bought it would lose money immediately, and whoever sold it would make money immediately. But that's hindsight. So from here, A, I don't sell it if I'm long it. This is not significant enough, or as sad as the situation it is. B, technically, makes total sense. If you covered up the name and you didn't tell me who that is, and you show me the stock, I'll tell you, I don't know what's going on, but this is not a place I start shorting. That's exactly what I would say, because it's falling into support from the price action. If I go to a 5-year to eliminate some of the noise, this is 1 week. These are weekly candles. It's even, I'm going to mark it up the same way, only on a weekly chart, so it has fewer lines, less noise. Okay, so right here, excuse me, right here, there was a breakout. See that candle right there? Look, these are not coincidences. That this fail is going to be some sort of support here. And volume, pretty decent with just one day. This is a weekly candle. Look. That goes back to last February where we had 1 week with 1 day. So we have 4 more days to go. So this is a significant event from the stock chart. I don't care who it is. Looking at this is not an obvious place to start shorting. If anything, this would be something like this. Now, provided the stock market in general doesn't fall apart, because this is all inside a bullish thesis for the stock market in general. All right, Nick signing out. If you have any questions, let me know.